Hello, everyone, and welcome to Give Me Some Good News, the best way to start your day in travel and tourism. We are here on site for the TTRA Annual Conference, and I am here with two very, very special guests, people who I've looked up to in this industry. One who is at the helm, actually, both of you are at the helm of destinations I frequent. And so we've got Heath Dillard here from Greenville, South Carolina, and we've got Stephanie from Visit Winston-Salem. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Caleb. You've been such a bright light in this industry, and it's just a real pleasure to sit down and talk to you.
Oh God, that makes me so happy. Yeah, I mean, like life's too short not to have fun, right? Like we're here, we're in travel and tourism. Like, why not just shine a light on the cool work we're doing? So, you guys gave an amazing presentation yesterday, and obviously for those who did not visit TTRA, can you guys kind of give an overview on what that was about for the audience? And Heath, we can start with you, and we'll go to you next, Stephanie.
Yeah, it was the point of the session was that Stephanie and I, probably a rare ascension to destination leadership. I don't think coming from research is the most common way that you find most destination CEOs. So it was exploring that experience and how that experience has guided the work that we do today. But it also included leadership lessons and things that we've kind of learned along the way, and how we integrate, having had that experience of research, how do we integrate data and business intelligence and market intelligence into the work that we do to guide our teams.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think one thing that was clear from the conversation we had yesterday is that leadership is not your title, and that, regardless of where you are in your career, that there are opportunities for leadership and impact, whether you spend 30 years in your role as a research expert, or if it's something that helps you to move up the career ladder.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when your research to me is such an interesting topic, because it is the foundation. I think, any decision you guys make as leaders, that background you have in research and applying that research and from the conversation yesterday has really fueled your career. So I think a lot of our listeners are kind of younger in their career, right? They're just starting up. You guys gave some great examples of your backgrounds, but like, if you had like one thing to say to someone who's, 10, 15 years behind you in their career, like what would it be, Stephanie? We can start with you on that.
I think it's like using whatever your role is to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so you can see your role as a research practitioner as I make a survey and deliver a set of data. Or you can see yourself as a strategist who understands the entirety of the business, and you are the expert in fueling that business with information that helps to optimize decisions.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I'm actually speaking on a panel at Destination International's annual convention about going from a department to creating strategic value for an organization or community. And we spent, because of the conference that we're at today, we spent most of our time talking about how research can go beyond the activities that you do. How you do your job really will become less important than the value that you create for the other departments that you serve, or the leader that you serve, or the community that you serve. And so I think that's true, for your listeners who may not be researchers themselves. They might be social media managers, they might be, convention sales managers. I think Stephanie's point is a really good one, not to miss, is having the business acumen is something I stress a lot, right? Getting outside of your day-to-day tactics and activities and really understanding the strategic lens for which the organization exists and what you're trying to accomplish on behalf of your community, and how you can go about your work to add value. And I said yesterday in our panel that if you focus on how to add value, you become valuable.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the advice I would give to young people is, if you just focus on adding value for others, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. And my guest co-host that I have come on sometimes, he said, CEO had a piece of advice. He said, I will never pay you for a job you're not already doing. And I think for young practitioners in the space, it's important to understand providing that value and seeking to understand the company's objectives, or the destination's objectives, and kind of working backwards from that, like first principles, is the best way to thrive in this industry. And I kind of want to speak to y'all's careers a little bit more. Like for you, Stephanie, like was there a moment in your career where you realized your role needed to be bigger than just simply producing insights and reports?
That's a really interesting question because I don't think I ever saw my role as just producing reports.
Mhm.
I've always been really motivated by whatever the mission is,
Yeah.
right? And always willing to step outside of whatever my job description was. So wow, I really, was propelled from one job to another. Every job that I've had, I was invited to apply for. And honestly, it was really daunting when I was asked to apply for that first destination CEO position coming out of attractions. I'm like, wow, how do I translate, selling a ticket and getting somebody through a front door to like selling a whole place? But the thing that really motivated me to do it was the impact that it could have. And I became like, really passionate about like, wow, I can like affect a whole place. And then I was kind of just also driven by the belief that if you work hard enough, you can figure it out. And so, really dived in there. But, all three of the destinations that I've led have grown more than the average.
Mhm.
And that's really because of a focus on like moving the needle. And my mantra at Winston-Salem has been, that we're not interested in incremental change. We're going to grow by leaps and bounds, and we're going to like look at it all new because we want to make as much change as fast as we can because we have competitors like Greenville that are killing it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've never really had a job title in mind or aspired to a specific role. Similarly to what Stephanie said, I have gravitated to organizations and to leaders because of the passion for what that work is and what that mission is. And so I spent 10 years working in Charlotte for the Charlotte Regional Visitors Authority, and I had an opportunity to do a lot of different jobs there. Um, and in that role, I never said, "Hey, I want to be a destination executive director. I never want to be, a chief marketing officer per se." But there was this intrinsic motivation to just make sure I was adding value to whatever that was. And I shared yesterday in our talk that started like hired to help with, the development of sales and marketing strategy. And
Mhm.
then somewhere, someone along the way said, well, hey, if you can help us target visitors for different reasons, different times of year, you can help us with an employee engagement strategy. You can help us understand what motivates a banquet captain and banquet servers and maintenance workers compared to our accounting team and sales teams, et cetera. And then that led to customer experience strategy. And so it was really never about, gosh, I need to be a destination leader, right? It was really about how do I add the most value because I am personally aligned and passionate about the work that we do, and how do I influence and add as much value as humanly possible. And when this role became open, it wasn't that I was necessarily, nervous or overwhelmed by the opportunity. It was, hey, I've never been in the position to have ultimate authority to make those decisions, but I've now been in the room and been part of the process for every decision I'll probably have to
Yeah.
make, right? And I've got just enough experience to be comfortable with the belief that I can do the job when tasked to do so.
Yeah. And you talked a bit yesterday, Heath, about making some of those bigger decisions. And I think you said, was it one of your kids was like, you're the boss now. You get to
Yeah.
make these decisions. And you were very open and honest about the fact that being at the top, being beholden to your board and to your community actually um, kind of limits the amount of decisions you can make and where you're making more strategic decisions. To kind of speak about, I've heard this saying like it's lonely at the top. And you said yesterday not to feel sorry for me, right?
Yeah.
But it is a different kind of experience. I saw in my time in working with Nick Breedlove at Discover Jackson County as he was our executive director that he played more of like a political role. It wasn't necessarily all the fun stuff of CMOs, right? Or like chief sales officers. Like you were really working with your board, you were making sure that you're making these strategic decisions with long-term impact. So for you, kind of speak to what it's like to anyone who's young in the industry, what it's like to be a CEO.
Yeah, I think even going back to my undergrad days as just a, business administration sort of major, it wasn't research, it wasn't these things. I gravitated towards books and towards leaders and towards case studies of servant leaders. And so servant leadership has always been at the root of who I am.
Hmm.
It's been the kind of managers that I've gravitated to. And when I say yesterday that just because you're the boss and the title doesn't mean you get to do what you want, part of that is because of that servant leader mindset. I am here to serve others, right?
Yeah.
I am here to serve our team. And in doing so, you have to have empathy for the people, right? Is that they come into the office with all the things that happen to us as humans, right? Some of us have children, and children get sick, or they have sports events, or they have school plays, or we're at a stage of our life where our parents are becoming sick and need care, or whatever it is, right? We all have human problems. And so you have to balance this standard of excellence and this job expectation that we've got a job to do, and we've got to deliver a certain amount of performance. We want to be transformational. And you're doing so through the empathy of like, hey, at the end of every day, we're all just humans. And so when I say yesterday that I'm not asking for people to feel sorry, you are weighed down by a lot of information that the rest of the team doesn't have, right? You're expected to show up every day and produce an optimistic sort of mindset to create the belief that, hey, tomorrow is going to be a great day, next year is going to be a great year. But internally you're like, I've got to fight for our funding. I got to fight for these resources. I've got to align these stakeholders who have maybe a different of opinion on where to spend these things or that or the other. And then you're just, you're dealing with sort of the internal alignment of teams. And so there's a lot you're juggling. And again, nobody's going to feel sorry for you, but at the end of the day, you're the one who's got the ultimate responsibility to bring all that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, and I think when you view yourself as a servant leader, you're always making decisions based on what's best for somebody else, what's best for your team, what's best for your community. And I think the challenge in the CEO role is that sometimes those stakeholder groups don't have the same needs.
Yeah.
And there's conflict in what's best for these various stakeholder groups, or there's a difference of opinion about what's best. And so, when the concept of like, you're the boss, you can do what you want, it doesn't exist when, you're leading for the mission and you're leading for the team. And, I bet you're like this too, where, you'll be out entertaining media and then you're doing work when you get home from that. But I'm in at 8:30. And I may not like even expect the team that was with me that night to do that, but I'm going to lead by that example.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, so you're holding yourself to a higher standard. When I heard your son's comment, I thought, wow,
Yeah.
that couldn't really be further from the truth. The higher up you go, really, the less likely
I
you
know.
are
Yeah.
to make a decision based
Yeah.
on what you want.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up my son's comment, and he's like, well, you can go into work and leave work whenever you want. You're the boss.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Nope.
I said, when you're the boss, you're more beholden to other people's schedules than you are your own at any other point in your career. And so, it's 100% true. And there's probably, outliers out there, but I think if you have that mindset that you're here to serve the community that you work for, serve the staff that you employ, serve the board that you work for, then that's probably true.
Yeah, I think the other part that people isn't visible to people is, I think a good leader is also like leaning in and, carrying team members when they need it.
Mm.
Yeah.
And, I think we always like, give people the room to blossom and make mistakes and be supported. And sometimes you just need to lean in and help them.
Yeah.
You're going to do that in a way that's like invisible to the rest of the team, right? Because you're just supporting, as a resource.
Yeah.
Um,
And the cool thing too, and I can say this as not having been a CEO, and I want other audience, members or people listening to this understand, like, you are a product of the leaders who have molded you.
100%.
And I think that a lot of time, and this is something I'm working on just as a professional courtesy, is I'm trying to get better about thanking the people who built me, right? Like, I've worked for some amazing leaders in the
Yeah.
travel and tourism space, both at the CEO level at the destination, but also for private industry and some folks who support this space. And I think for some of the listeners out there who are either aspiring CEOs or who are still kind of finding their footing, never forget to just take the time to make a phone call, right? Because I think the work that you guys are talking about here, the destinations that y'all are building, a lot of that work goes unnoticed, right? And sometimes we're talking about the media, like sometimes the media can be there when things go wrong, but they're not necessarily always there when things go right. And I think that can happen with teams too. It's like, why is this going wrong? But looking back and being grateful and thanking the people who have molded you in your career never goes underappreciated, right?
No, I said yesterday that I wasn't, it wasn't really about me. It wasn't a brag on me. It was really meant to be a compliment to those bosses that I had in Charlotte, and even before that was, I would have friends and former colleagues checking in on me. Yeah, I've been here almost 4 years now, but those first sort of 6 months, 12 months, friends calling, "Hey, how's it going? I see you guys doing a lot of great work. How are you?" And I would say to them, I say, I feel so blessed because I haven't been in a room yet. I haven't been asked to make a decision yet that I don't feel prepared for. And I wasn't saying to them like I'm good at my job and this is about me. It was really meant to sort of pay homage to. I was really invested in heavily by the people that I worked for, and people who saw enough in me and enough of potential to put me in rooms that I maybe didn't quite deserve to be in yet, be on projects that I didn't necessarily have previous experience for. But all of that allowed me to develop enough experience where I could confidently sit in that room and have a voice at the table and be confident to speak my voice and, add perspective from our industry and perspective from our organization, even if I hadn't done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing this a few decades longer than Heath, and really resonates with me your expression of gratitude, because like there is nothing that fills you up more as a leader than to hear from a team member that you worked with 15 years ago that says like, "Thank you for giving me that chance. Thank you for helping me learn how to do hard things." And and it kind of takes a while, I think, to like realize the impact that you've had on people. And then, as a leader who's been doing this for a couple of decades, then that really becomes like your why. The why becomes a little less about like my love of advertising and marketing, and just like really rooted in, the team.
Yeah.
And building a team, and that, and when you're in destination marketing, the team's not just the people on your payroll,
Right.
It's the whole community.
Right.
And I was sharing with you earlier that Dr. Dana Clark from App State came to one of our tourism partner forums, and he's like, "This whole room feels like one big team."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just loved that, because tourism's a team sport, right? Can't do it without the big broad team.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is the Give Me Some Good News podcast. And one of the things I love about both your destinations is the turnaround that you're seeing, the amount of work that you're doing, and seeing those fruits as destination leaders. So I kind of just want to get an overview from both of you on where your destinations are now and where they're heading and the things you're looking forward to as leaders. And Heath, we'll start with you. Just kind of give me an overview of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate to come into a destination that's been hard at work at this for the past couple of decades. For those who aren't familiar with Greenville, South Carolina, its sort of history was sort of a textile center of a lot of the Piedmont area of the Carolinas were, but Greenville had its entire base around textiles, and when that went overseas, this community was really in dire straits, and so it took really visionary leaders and community people who believed in the essence of this place that was really special to rebuild it. And so I get to come in and I've had community leaders say, "Man, you've got the easiest job in the world." And I'm like, I was like, there's certainly worse destinations that one could promote,
Right.
But it's still hard work at the end of the day. And so I am really grateful that this place is really vibrant for a community of our size, to have the quality of culinary, to have the art and entertainment, the sports and events that we can attract. We're really, really in a blessed place. But we're getting ready to renovate our arena. The arena's, going to perform a $280 million expansion and renovation in the next 3 years. We just announced the development of a downtown conference center with a luxury hotel attached. This past year, we worked alongside our friends in Charlotte to host Top Chef and the very first ever Michelin Guide of the American South, where we had 5 of our restaurants acknowledged. And I think that's really just the beginning. I think we as an organization are leaning into product development. We want to make sure that when visitors come here, that money stays locally. So we're really going to serve those kind of non-typical businesses, right? We want to make sure locally owned retail and culinary are the groups that we promote and that we see. We want local restaurateurs and local chefs to open the door behind them, right?
Yeah.
And to train those sous chefs and those line cooks behind them. We just want an industry cluster that continues to grow and expand, and for that talent to stay here and continue to grow. We're a community that's facing a lot of growth. And so we want to make sure we play a role in smart managed growth in the future. We don't want to become a destination that really suffers from the over tourism problem.
Mhm.
We want to make sure that tourism is weaved naturally into our community, that we grow that we grow at a rate that can be manageable within our local residents. And so at the end of the day, when I came on board, we were wrapping up a strategic plan, and we changed our mission, and I sort of describe our mission in three parts. The first two parts, with maybe slightly different words, are probably the same mission for the 40 plus years of our organization: maximize Greenville's visitor economy by developing and promoting exceptional destination experiences. The piece that changed the lens by which our team gets up and goes to work every day is what I believe our why.
Mm.
And we do that now, and the activities will change as digital marketing has changed and AI will change it in the future. But the why, I think, will ground us.
Yeah.
And that is, we are going to do those things for the benefit of our community, to enhance the prosperity and quality of life of our residents.
Yeah.
And so we're going to sell hotel rooms, and we're going to sell meals, and we're going to bring conventions and sporting events here, but we're going to do that only through the lens that it makes a net positive impact on our community and not beyond that.
Yeah. And Stephanie, you've done a really great job of kind of rallying the troops and building a strong foundation for where Winston-Salem is headed. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, Winston is, I think, in a different place on, the destination life cycle. We've been a town of big industry and, and big business, and dominated, by tobacco and, Fortune 100 companies. And, that's changing. And so tourism hasn't been seen as like central to our economy. Even though visitors spend, $1 billion a year in Forsyth County. And so, where in the 3 years that I've been there, there've been tremendous opportunities to modernize our program and put us on the map. Because, with we know the halo effect that, and if tourism advertising, is reaching larger numbers of people, it's not only stimulating the economy and bringing more visitors, but it's building a reputation for economic development. And, we have 5 universities. So it's, building reputation for Winston-Salem as a place to go to school. And so in the year prior to me being in Winston-Salem, we had 200,000 website visits that year. In the first year, it went to 1 million. In the second year, it was at 2 million. Same budget, but we also needed to build this team of community stakeholders so that we had enthusiastic, well-prepared, partners who, were joining with us in this effort. And so, this year we've reached 1.4 billion impressions through media relations. We were just on the cover of Southbound. And, so in building like awareness and reputation, are those same resources that were being utilized a few years ago are now reaching 60 million people through paid advertising, 20 million impressions through social media. And when I came to Winston-Salem, like our digital footprint was not as impressive and exciting as being in the place.
Yeah.
And so, even though that like feels very fundamental, when people are searching, whether it's for a vacation or they want to relocate there. So now I'm just really, proud of the awareness that we've been able to achieve, and that we're making Winston-Salem stand out as a fun, vibrant, youthful place. And so, we've had to move that brand image from the target audience of 55 plus who likes gardens and history to be more representative. And it's because we serve a broader scope of stakeholders.
Yep.
Right. And it's not only about like, what the marketing plan believes is the biggest motivator. It's like, who are you serving? Mm-hmm. And you can shift the narrative, right? Maybe your research says that that's why people are coming, but that doesn't mean that's your only job.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you need to shift that narrative to be what it needs to be to serve the community. And, I love that you touched on, who our customer is, because, part of the objective is helping our community understand that we're not here to serve visitors.
Yeah.
We're not here to benefit the people who are traveling. We motivate that travel to benefit the people who live in the community.
Yeah.
And so, there's always like the three-legged stool, right? We are a professional advanced sales and marketing team. But, we also have this advocacy role.
Yeah.
And of course the politics.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
Can't get rid of that part of it, unfortunately.
Nope. No, you sure cannot. Well, y'all, I just want to say, again, as someone who frequents both your destinations, um, thank you for the work that y'all are doing. It doesn't go unnoticed. It doesn't go unappreciated. And, you guys are doing great work for great destinations and great people. So, before we kind of land the plane here, I always love asking all of our guests, it can be personal, it can be professional, whatever you're looking forward to. Can you give me some good news? And Heath, we'll start with you.
We're doing this interview on Friday, June the 26th. Yesterday morning, I had a board meeting where we passed our fiscal 27 business plan and budget.
Yay!
At 2 o'clock this
1 year
afternoon.
at a time, right?
At 2 o'clock this afternoon, TTRA International's annual conference will move out of Greenville. And tomorrow morning at about 7 a.m., me and my family will be headed to a beach in North Carolina. I'm ready. I'm
Yeah,
ready to go.
you've earned it, man. You've earned it.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Stephanie?
I was thinking a little more philosophically than that, but to me, the good news is that like tourism is resilient.
Yeah.
And because, travel is a basic human need. And, there are waves of change. There's always disruption, there's always waves of change. And I think that by focusing on the value that as individuals and as organizations that we can achieve, that's how we ride that wave, providing value and optimizing benefit to the people that we're here to serve.
So wonderful.
You started off our conversation by talking about just the industry that we're in and how fun it is, and really the purpose of this podcast. And I would say, to your listeners that there's a lot of ways to impact whatever community you're in. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday on the panel, whether you're in affordable housing or homelessness or whatever it is. But we get to do those same things, and we get to do it through the lens of tourism. And it is fun, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. And we have a group of employees that make up what we call our culture committee.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the charges that I've given that group is I want them to leverage these wonderful amenities that we have in this community to help remind us of what we get to do every day and the privilege that we have to get to do it. So we get to make a great impact on our community, and we get to make this a better place for ourselves, our families, our neighbors, our friends, and all of our community residents. But we get to do it in a lot of fun ways. We get to eat great meals, see great shows, we really get to experience the best of our destination almost every day. And we shouldn't lose sight of that. We should never take that for granted. It's a real privilege.
Yeah, that's the best news you can ask for right
That's
there.
right.
Well, y'all, hey, if people want to learn more about you or find you, Stephanie, I'll start with you. Where can they do that?
Oh, LinkedIn, I guess.
Yep.
For me personally, visitwinstonsalem.com to kind of learn all about the destination. I hope people, if they're in the area, they'll stop by and say hello.
Absolutely. What about you, Heath?
Same for me. You catch me on LinkedIn or VisitGreenvilleSC.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your time. And we're going to go enjoy some more fellowship before we break and you head to the beach and we all head back to our destinations. But thank you so much for the time. And this has been some good news.